So what I'd like to talk about today is a very simple question that all of us ask at some point in life. Why are we here? It's a rhetorical question and it's a practical question. Why are we here? Why are we here as human beings, undergoing these experiences, as well as why are we here now doing this? And do you see the connection between the two? Do you see the connection? How why are we here connects to every why are we here and now? Because every why are we here and now is not separate from why are we here in terms of a grander plan, in terms of the ultimate, basically, idea. And many explanations have been given of why are we here as a human race. Many explanations. And I'm sure you are very, very versed, some of you are very versed in terms of what is the purpose of human existence, or have a very definitive idea of why. Because many of us have different interpretations and different concepts, and all of these are valid. All of these concepts are valid in their own right. However, there is one underlining, I call it a golden thread that runs through all these concepts. And it is essential to human nature. It is essential to the existence itself. So the question of why are we here is being united by one main underlying theme, purpose, or purpose theme, whichever way you prefer to put it. And that is experiencing happiness. It's just as simple as that. It may, from the ontological perspective, sound a little bit strange. Why would the almighty, absolute, undifferentiated state of consciousness be eager to reflect itself through the diversity of creation? Because it's already self-sustained, contained. It's already, as it were, its fullness itself. So why there will be any need for fullness to undergo any changes whatsoever in order to experience that fullness? And that question has been bothering many a great mind in the past, and I'm sure at the present, and it will continue in the future. Because it's very much a leitmotif of the highest occupation of the mind in terms of trying to comprehend why. But for us, for the majority of us, the question of happiness is what really unites us. It's what really makes us, that's what really transcends everything. Transcends the gender. It transcends the, preferences, the race, the provenance, the genetic differences. Because deep down we all want to be happy. Full stop. Whatever we understand by that doesn't matter. This is something that fundamentally, as human beings, we all want to have. And we don't want happiness to be in terms of, because we are not really kind of like, it's no longer the kind of on the level of, okay, I get this and I get that and, I'll be happier, Most of us by now have figured out that happiness cannot be provided from the outside. The ability to enjoy yourself could be provided from the outside on a temporary basis. But the ability to experience that joy within cannot be provided by anything external. So once we figure that out, we usually call it the beginning of a spiritual journey. And most of you have been journeying that realization for quite some times. So what is that? Why are we here? And how does it connect to why are we here at this very moment? And every moment is actually a stepping stone, a reply to that why are we here. Yes, I'm here. I'm just pausing with you, because it's not something that I have a ready-made answer. It would be a mistake to think that I'm just like, I'm asking this question and I'm pondering with you. It's not that I have an answer and I'm asking this question and I'm going to give you like A, B to A, B, C, like explanation of everything. It doesn't work like that. Every spiritual teacher, every spiritual perceptor works on a different level. Some teachers fulfill a specific role. Every teacher fulfills a specific role. In my particular case, the most important thing is not actually what I'm saying. It's not the actual intellectual, let's say, content of what is being said. Although sometimes, and very often, people take just the content and they're satisfied with that. They take the actual literal meaning of what is being expressed. Ideally, the most important thing for me is to have that heart-to-heart flow, something which words can never convey. But since we are bound to that form of communication, to the age, by the age we live in, when the laws of nature are diminished, when the laws of nature confined us to this very limiting form of communication, we have to utilize this language at its best. So although language always conceals, although verbal communication, vocal communication will always conceal, because it's opaque, by its nature it's opaque. And yet, since it is not separate from consciousness and speech itself is the flow of consciousness, there are distances, there are gaps, there are intervals where what can never be spoken can be directly related. And I hope that makes sense to all of you, or at least to some of you, because that will make more and more sense as you go along. You might have aha moments, here and there, understanding something. I got it, But the real sinking of the mind into the heart has nothing to do with aha. It's a qualitatively different level of realization altogether. And that could happen only when there is this direct, uninterrupted flow. So when I brought this question, why are we here today? And it wasn't premeditative, it wasn't something that I planned on. It's something that just occurred to me, that it is appropriate perhaps to talk in our first seminar, in our first webinar. Because that really has to be firmly impressed into our psyche, that essentially it is the happiness that we want. So there is a certain realignment of all the vital forces takes place towards that happiness. Because if we carry on thinking, and going about trying to extract the happiness from the experiences in the world through, let's say, sensory, partaking, sensory enjoyment, then we might be going around the circles for a very long time. And once we know that the essence of the existence itself is to experience happiness, it's kind of a very liberating realization. Why is it liberating? Is because nothing really much needs to be done to experience happiness. We don't need to really exert too much to experience happiness, because happiness is a spontaneous event. Happiness is spontaneous. Why is happiness is spontaneous? Well, because happiness is nothing but the very fabric from which this whole creation is being woven. Happiness is nothing but the very bliss of our essential nature. That's what happiness is. When we say we're happy, when we're really happy, we're never happy for a reason. The real happiness, there's no reason. It could be associated with, so and so, with such and such event, with such and such circumstances, but usually it is just the conditions that when allows us to relax, when we receive a very good news, something really nice happening, and we associate that immediately with feeling good. But the feeling good, it has nothing to do with what's happening outside of us. And surely enough, I'm not the first one who says that. I'm sure you have heard that and you have experienced that on many, many occasions. That feeling good for no reason is essential nature, and it doesn't require any effort on our part. What requires is this, all the dust need to subside. That's all. All that obstructs that feeling of goodness, that feeling of happiness, needs to just settle. And then it's by itself. It doesn't take much. Yet it seems like, it's a far-reaching goal. What we perhaps sometimes forget is that the happiness is get intermingled and get intertwined in our understanding with experience of pleasure. This is where we get entangled into the affairs of the world, likes and dislikes, and this is when the polarity kicks in, and that's where the dichotomized nature of thought creates the division. Because pleasure is one thing and happiness is something which is infinitely more subtle, and that what gives rise to pleasure. Yet we are all grown-ups here, and we cannot fool ourselves by thinking that only pleasure is equal to happiness. In reality, pleasure has its shadow, has its counterpart. In reality, pleasure and pain, they walk, side by side. They're two sides of the same coin. You flick it, you got it. Whichever side, it falls on, it's not far from the other side. It's in the immutability of nature. But behind both pleasure and pain lays happiness. Sounds contradictory, isn't it? But it doesn't, because happiness, as we agree, is made of the same stuff as what the core of the universe is made of. It's a bliss, it's that fabric, it's that essence. When we come in touch with that, when we come in touch with the supreme bliss, then that bliss permeates the whole entire being. It permits not just the this or that sphere of activity, you know. You feel and experience bliss amidst of pain. You feel and experience bliss amidst of suffering, as well as amidst the most elated moments in your life, the most happiest moments in your life. And this is an adult, uncensored talk. This is why, we don't want to fool ourselves. We no longer equate happiness with pleasure only. This is the first step to realize that everything is accepted, everything is welcomed. All the range of human experiences are welcomed. Nothing is excluded. And knowing that the reason of us being here, right now, here, right in this very moment, and the reason for the existence is deeply interlinked. At every moment it is interlinked. The link never gets interrupted. We may get cut off, the internet may die off, whatever. Something happens, it's going to start storming here. We're in Costa Rica, it's a rainy season. Every afternoon the storm comes, But the power behind every storm and every sunshine is the same. And that power is bliss, that power is happiness. And that is not separate from our essential nature. We are made of that. So I want this to be a kind of an introductory theme on which you are all invited to reflect upon. I wanted that to sink in deeply. In fact, it doesn't even need to sink in, because it's already there. Nothing has been said here new. It's just a quiet reminder of what it is already there. It's a quiet reminder of what is your essential nature. And your essential nature is bliss, which is happiness itself. So what happens is that the search for happiness is finished right here, right now. There's no need to go anywhere anymore. There's absolutely no need to make one move towards that happiness. That happiness is self-evident.